everyone to the LEC Super Week for our second look at G2 Esports and SK Gaming. The German team, they might be heavy underdogs against the reigning champions, but based on their performance yesterday, the SK fans can still hope for an upset. I honestly think that they had a solid first win. You could say, okay, they're up versus an Astralis team yesterday that is also trying to figure their team dynamic out, but a win is a win on the board, especially for a team like SK Caedrel, who does have a lot of new elements in the lineup.
Yeah, I think that win was solid overall, but I think that win came from simplicity rather than playmaking. I think that it came off a good draft, that they outdrafted Astralis quite hard. I think their team fight composition was really good and it paid off. And I think the second thing was they didn't progress the game by macro kind of orientated ways. They just kind of hit hooks, got engages, and then got the fight, got an objective. So I want to see more from SK, but it looks good so far.
I think you're going to get somewhat the same style for most of the regular season from SK. Like Jezu, as a coach, I've always focused a lot on like the basics and like, okay, just like learn a couple of key things in the gameplay, like fairly simple, easy to set up comps with a lot of crowd control, and then try and enable like one specific carry, which I'm expecting to be Blue.
Yeah.
The more we get into the regular season, I think he's going to become their star player. At least that should be the goal for the organization. So yeah, I'm expecting like this kind of draft, this kind of style to continue. Is it enough to beat the top teams? No, but you can definitely always take wins against the bottom half.
And we can also see how far they can get against a top team like G2. And I think that's also very important in the development of a lot of these new players that are making their debut in the LEC. You talked about hitting hooks. We want to talk a little bit about the support matchup, and specifically first on SK side. Treatz, his re-entry into Europe and now into the LEC. He had a fantastic game, setting up so much for his team.
Yeah, this is a player who was kind of on TSM for a year or so, and people were like, well, when's Treatz going to play? Can we sub Treatz? And everyone wanted Treatz to play. And I think he lived up to the hype in the first game of the season. I think his hooks kind of initiated the fight, and although SK had a lot of engaged tools in the Gragas and the Hecarim, it mostly came from hitting a hook, and then the team fight kind of pursued from that onwards. And I think he played really well around vision, made sure that he positioned himself well. I think he teamed up really well with TynX to make sure they got that vision in the first place. So a lot of things that he did worked really well. I think the flashy things he did hitting the hooks was the most important thing.
But of course, the base you need to cover the bases, so it's good to see that he could do that for his team.
Yeah, of course. I mean, Treatz is the kind of person where we've always heard a lot about his shot calling capabilities. Even though this is technically like his first games in the LEC, like he's an older player. Like he's been around for a while, so he's seen a lot of different things. He knows how to at least lead a team, and he has a very young AD carry next to him. And Jezu, who of course is a rookie, came over from Misfits Academy actually, played for us last year, and he's like a very mechanically gifted, but obviously very inexperienced player. So I think that combination makes a lot of sense, even though you wouldn't call Treatz a veteran. He's been around enough, and he's vocal enough as a person that he can dictate that lane and probably teach Jezu quite a lot of things.
Absolutely. Now he's up versus an absolute behemoth in the bot lane with Mikyx on the side of G2, who had a fantastic opening game, I have to say. Everyone was looking at the opening game for Rekkles, but it was Mikyx on his Alistar who really was doing a lot of work, like repelling all the ganks and making the team fights happen.
Yeah, I think he was making fun of people with his movement. And I think not only his movement was kind of what he was flexing on the enemy team, he was also his engages, you know. He was playing so well around vision and getting such good multi-man knockups in the fights here. You saw him flash in and cancel humanoid's jump. Later on the fight, he was hitting some crazy Alistar combos, and I just think Mikyx just being Mikyx, right? We know he's a top 2 support in Europe. You saw it here, the vision, he plays around with the vision, gets a knockup, gets the engages, so really, really reliable player that G2 can always rely on.
Making it easy for Rekkles in his first game.
I mean, I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
I think it's like, sometimes I think on G2, like the nicest thing ever for any star player in G2 could sometimes be just like, you just have a chill game and you just look around and the other 4 players are just popping off left and right and carrying you. Like, that must be a great feeling.
Absolutely.
And every single player on his team can actually like carry the game, which is the most frustrating thing when you play against them, because they mechanically check you at any point in the game. Like, you're 10k up, it doesn't matter. The next skirmish you take, it's hard to execute because they will just fight back and they're able to do it individually.
That is something that we have heard forever from the LPL teams, right? The strongest teams, and actually any team in the LPL, knowing that they will always skill check you and always try and find a way to get back into that game. You said at the beginning of the day that it was very frustrating to play against them. You said it again here. What is your impression?
Well, it's very
yes, I want you to elaborate a little bit on...
It's frustrating?
I want you to elaborate a little bit, maybe, and give your opinion on where you can see the ceiling of this roster going in the LEC.
In the LEC, I can safely predict that G2 will be favorites to win the whole thing.
Yes.
I think we can all put that one out there. I think for G2 it's always like, where can they go, Worlds? Can they take the title? I don't know if their ceiling is higher with Rekkles than with Perkz. I think Perkz, legendary player as well. I think they probably lost something in terms of the actual like in-game knowledge and potentially like the in-game decision making in very, very key clutch moments. But they have gotten a slightly better late game AD carry who can potentially clutch out a big win there. I don't know if it makes them closer to a title, a world title, than having perks. But it's really hard to upgrade from perks.
Well,
their ceiling was a world final, so it's hard to break that.
That's a pretty good ceiling, you know. And of course, everything, time will tell about everything.
Very true. Nobody's going to remember what I said right here. So G2 will win
Everyone's going to remember. They're going to clip it. No, don't do that. Anyway, G2 did get off to a great start with their new superstar, and they look to continue their domination against SK.
And win worlds.
And win worlds.
As Deficio says, G2 are going to win worlds. Clip it and ship it, Twitch chat. I'm looking forward to seeing it on Reddit later on today. I'm Medic. This is Vedius. We're here for our first cast of 2021. About halfway through day 2, and I think things have played out relatively to expectations so far today.
Yeah,
Vedi.
ties across the board. Everyone's going 1-1. What we love to see here in the LEC, and we're in for a banger, I would imagine. G2 Esports, obviously, I think yesterday did look good, but the early game was a little shaky. Now going up against SK, the question is, will that really be a problem? Because I don't think SK showcased a very strong early game either.
What SK did showcase was a strong mid and late game. Their team fights were very good. They kind of sat with what they had done in 2020. We'll see if they do that here today again, as we are going to jump on in to Champion Select. I'm just gonna say, when we eventually get fans back, that moment is gonna be so epic. It's already really cool, and it's great to be here, of course. Let's have a look at what SK are gonna ban on the blue side, kicking us off with a Camille taken away. G2 obviously have a plethora of options here, and they will go for Pantheon.
Okay, nothing too surprising so far. Things like Olaf, Lilia have also been pretty high presence so far in the current meta. We've also been seeing a lot of Kai'Sa often banned away too, and it looks like for the time being, both sides just going to stick to the pretty conventional meta bans with a priority on junglers, it seems, as G2 look to follow up with the Taliyah. The question is, what direction will SK go next?
They definitely have a few options. Of course, could look towards an AD carry. Things like the Jhin, the Kai'Sa have been high up people's priority lists. Alongside that, the Lilia, still a very strong jungler.
Yep, as you mentioned, pretty interesting here, as G2 looking to just so far take those junglers off the board. Another jungler going to be joined by the side of SK, with the Lilia being removed. Yesterday, TynX did, of course, play the Hecarim. So still a couple of jungle options available, but a lot of the big primary meta junglers have been removed. We're now looking at things like Graves, we're looking at Nidalee, things like Kai'Sa, of course, still very high on the priority list. But there are, of course, still a lot of options left to be decided here for both sides.
Importantly, we've yet to see the Gragas or the Renekton in the top lane ban, so we might see that traded once again. Gragas currently winning out on that.
I don't want to see. I'm not sold on the Renekton first pick.
Nor am I, Vedius. I'm just saying that's what teams seem to like right now.
It's true. Of course, as you mentioned, there could be the whole Renekton Nidalee combo. Very common, seen in pro play pretty much across the world. But it's going to be the Gragas. Of course, Gragas is a flex pick. We haven't seen it in support yet, domestically, but internationally, LCK, LPL. I think we may have even seen one in the LCS as well. Support Gragas is definitely a thing, and I'm sure that Treatz is no stranger to the champion in the bot lane. So that flexibility, whether they can pivot depending on what G2 go for as they move into their half of the draft. Of course, things like the Graves, like the Nidalee are both up and available. We're actually going to see a priority on the Thresh, does indicate a potential Phelios combination that we have seen, especially with some of these AD carries now taken off the board.
And especially since Treatz had such a good Thresh performance yesterday, going 2-0-11 I'm not surprised that G2 are like, okay, well, we want to take that away from you and remove some of Treatz' power.
I mean, on top of that, I remember very specifically the 2019 Summer Finals where it was every time Mikyx got Thresh, like they were winning games.
Yep.
Mikyx is no stranger to Thresh. He is a very big Thresh player, loves the champion, very good at it. And after his big day one performance yesterday on Analyst, I'm excited to see what he can do. But it seems that G2 have this high priority on Twisted Fate. We did, of course, just see Mad Lions lock that one in, but with strong early game presence, the ability to roam, impact your side lanes, very classic caps that we normally see on G2.
Oh, definitely. And one of the issues can be trying to roam around and follow that Twisted Fate if you're SK Gaming. So what they've said is, well, we'll take Sylas, we'll steal away the Destiny ourselves, and it gives Blue just that little bit more in terms of options when he tries to chase caps around the map. Alongside that, TynX is going to lock in the Hecarim for the second time at this split. And it does mean that Gragas won't be going in the jungle, but as you said earlier, could still be Flex 2 support.
Certainly could be. I'm not sure they really want to put the Gragas into the Thresh, though. I feel like that with the body slam being a main engagement, things like Flay and Hook, definitely a pain in the backside to have to deal with. Of course, G2 now going to round things out with the Graves. Somewhat expected, given the available jungle champions that you do have left at your disposal. And it seems so far that SK seem to have their comp starting to really be fleshed out. Only their bot lane seems to be left on in terms of options, so I wouldn't be surprised to see G2 now potentially ban away more AD carries or potentially good support that they don't want to have to deal with. Looks like that the AD carries are going to be the focus for G2.
Yeah, there's the Samira getting taken away. Samira very good into Thresh, of course, because the Blade Well blocks the hook. You can't get an end of the line through there. You can't get a gold card through there. If a Samira just times her portable wind wall pretty well, she can stop any of these engage tools possible for G2. SK are going to get rid of the Ashe themselves, removing some of that more utility-orientated marksman. We have already, of course, seen the Imperial Mandate Ashe earlier today, and that worked out pretty well. So, I mean, the thing with banning AD carries against Rekkles is we already saw yesterday, you really can't pinch this guy's pool. Like, in the end, he can even go back to one of his classic picks, like the Tristan or even a Kennen AD carry, which wouldn't be as good now.
You won't go back to Kennen AD carry. We won't talk about that one. But
he's on G2 now, Vedius. He can do anything he wants.
Well, what I thought was interesting yesterday was how he talked about he felt he was a little exposed because he kind of had to go back to a champion that he wasn't that familiar with. They didn't have a lot of practice on, and while they did definitely make it work, it was definitely not what their plan seemed to be going into the matchup. So with a couple more AD carries at his disposal and with another one taken off the board, you would imagine G2 is going to look to lock in the Jhin. Right now, of course, they could go for something like an Aphelios. It is up and available, but perhaps with the amount of dive that is currently sitting on SK, they don't want to run the risk. So they may just go for something like a Jhin, give you a little bit more power in the 2 versus 2, give you a very easy lane to play around as well. When you have the Twisted Fate, you want to have that lane that you can set up for the level 6-4. And it looks like that the Jhin is going to be the option. For anyone that remembers back at, I don't remember which IEM it was, but Rekkles was one of the OG Jhin players. He brought it out at that tournament, and many people were surprised, and he had a lot of great success on it as well, back in the day.
The good old days. It was like just after Jhin really was came out. Like, it was one of the first tournaments he was available at. I can't remember the name of it either. So apologize for that. I was actually surprised to see SK Gaming decided to ban out more utility AD carries when things like the Jhin were still available, but obviously trying to just remove some of that extra power in the AD carry pool, and they're going to pick a powerful AD themselves. The Misfortune, we've seen this teamed up with something like a Seraphine earlier today. That is a very strong poke lane, but would be a little bit tricky into a Thresh Jhin.
I agree. I'm thinking more along the lines of something like a Leona, but we'll see what direction they go for. And it will be the Leona. So a very typical Misfortune Leona bot lane. Nothing too crazy, very powerful, a little difficult to play when going up against the Jhin, but with a champion like a Hecarim, it kind of goes to what Deficio was talking about on the Analyst desk. Very typical SK, we saw this a lot from them last season as well, where you have this team fight-centric comp, relatively good scaling, offers primary utility in the form of support and top lane. And yes, we have the Ivern top lane. Okay, we have an Ivern top lane coming out from G2 Esports. LS. Of course, in our first game, they give us the Ivern top lane again. Great. All right. Well, we're going to be seeing some Moonstone and Staff of Flowing Water. Fortunately,
someone is already making the Twitch account LS Ruins G2. I'm just saying, someone out there, get in. You're going to be at it all day today. We're gonna get
obviously, G2 have now won the draft.
Obviously they have. We're going to get on into the game. SK Gaming taking on G2. onto Summoner's Rift we go. Ivern in the top lane. I'm sure G2 wanted to be the first ones to bring this out in the LEC, but XL beat them to it yesterday. It didn't work out for XL in the end, although having watched that game back, I feel like XL perhaps could have been in a better position. And Wunder, 35 minutes ago, tweeted out this, Vedius: feels good to stretch the old beanstalks.
So, I mean, Wunder has this habit of letting everyone know what he's going to do.
No one expects the sneaking over.
Oh, Wunder. For anyone that doesn't follow Wunder on Twitter, would highly recommend it. It is very entertaining. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about this. Of course, we've already seen the Ivern top here in the LEC. The primary goal is to be a huge utility boost to the rest of your team, right? You have the Moonstone combined with Staff of Flowing Water, the extra ability power that you give, the extra movement speed that you give, the shielding. It kind of turns your carries into a hyper carry. I'm a little questionable about the Jhin combination specifically. I think that someone like a Twisted Fate may actually gain a little bit more value from that additional AP power later on into the game. But regardless, I think that Ivern just offers a lot of utility, and I think that he can actually do quite well in the laning phase as well. Against a champion like Gragas that you don't really expect a huge amount of lane pressure from, I think that it can be very effective at kind of just getting through the lane and being very passive. I also kind of think it fits towards the trend of what G2 is trying to do anyway in the early game, which is play towards the bot side of the map. With this Twisted Fate looking for that level 6, they're going to look for a roam, try and attack, or try and get this Jhin and Thresh ahead, especially when they expect them. But now we already see Jankos pathing towards the mid lane, looking to move towards his top side because he started this game off with a bit of a cheeky invade alongside Rekkles and Mikyx. He's going to steal away the red buff and looks to 3 camp, or 3 big camp rather.
3 buff.
Earlier. 3 buff, that's the word I'm looking for. It's been a while.
It's been a couple of months, but we are back on into the action. And you were talking a little bit about how Caps can roam down towards the bottom lane, get that Destiny off, and team up with Rekkles. Of course, we saw them team up all those years ago on Fnatic, the last time any team other than G2 won a title, as Caps just about survives in the mid lane. And it's good that he just about survived, Eddie, because both Caps and Rekkles are yet to die in the LEC, and we want you to vote at home. Who do you think is going to die first? Type Caps or type Rekkles in the chat. After watching that play, I'm pretty sure I know which way the vote's going.
Well, we'll have to wait and see, because yesterday neither player did die, as Medic was saying. And this is your opportunity, chat. You get to be the prophet. You get to predict who you think will die first. Make sure that you vote Rekkles or Caps. For now, Caps is definitely being bullied in this 1v1. I like how aggressive Blue is being. He does have that ward on the bottom side of the river, but he just wants to put as much pressure on Caps as possible. And while he did lose his flash, getting Caps' flash out and forcing him to burn his teleport means a lot, because usually that Twisted Fate wants to try and look to go at back to base at a very specific time so that he hits that level 6 at the right time so that he can then look to roam. All of this is now messed up for him, so Caps is going to have to pivot and adapt. And while he does currently sit at a slight CS lead, his ability to roam at level 6 may very well be interfered.
Mickey looking for the hook here. Treatz just steps up towards the top side, and because G2 Jankos is down on the bottom side, I wonder if TynX looks for a red invade here, because Jankos still has yet to take his red. With Blue having such domination, such control in the mid lane, actually he's just going to go in for Caps. Gold card is locked, but hasn't come out yet. The stun's going to land there onto TynX, but TynX is chasing Caps down, and the vote is over. Who will die first? Twitch chat, you and Nostradamuses, you get it right. Caps is dead.
To the 9%, 10%, the predicted Rekkles.
Are you not watching this game?
Really good gank in the mid lane for SK there. They knew that Caps had no flash. The gank was just very straightforward, you know? Blue had very easy setup. The wave was even bouncing back towards him. And then with the arrival of TynX, it's SK that end up drawing first blood. So remember at the beginning of this game, Medic, we talked about how G2 need to be careful in the early game because they were punished yesterday by Mad Lions. We're seeing that repeated punishment here today from SK's mid-jungle duo. Really good gank onto Caps. Jankos does arrive in time, but unfortunately for him, he does not have the damage to be able to turn things around in his favor. So, good start for SK. Let's see if they can get any more off the back of this.
Also, the first kill for TynX in the LEC this split. Yesterday, he went 0-0-8. A jungler that a lot of people have seen coming up through the ERLs over the last few years and said, he is the next jungler to watch. He is the next guy that's going to make a statement in the LEC, so...
Yeah, I mean, I even heard an interview from him where he kind of expected to be in the LEC last year, you know, and I think that a lot of eyes were on him and his success, and with SK already being 1-0. If they get a big win here against G2, that would be huge to start off your split. You know, getting early wins against G2 is what you want, because as a team, typically they tend to ramp up throughout the season and they get scarier the later into the season you get.
It tends to be how recently was a World of Warcraft expansion release.
Yes,
if it was very recent, they're not as good.
Very true. But it seems that Wunder, for the time being, is just focusing on PvE, so he's definitely in his element. Just hit that level 6, going to immediately utilize the daily, put the shield on the Daisy, get the knock up. Okay, no shield. I wonder if he actually had enough mana for that, because the slow that you can get from that shield can be really oppressive, and then Daisy can become very obnoxious to get away from. But for now, he's just going to use the Daisy to get that push. And you can see that he's likely going to push, look for a quick reset, and then he should actually be able to go back to top lane then without using his TP. Remember, of course, because it's Ivern, when the red buff dies, he can actually go and grab that red buff too. So he'll have a little bit of extra utility. There's the shield on top of Daisy, help with the push a little bit. He wants to make sure this gets underneath the tower. Oh, okay, he's going to choose not to.
I think it's a little bit difficult because you're now playing into a tier double Ruby Crystal Gragas, and so with no mana, Wunder would struggle, but the wave's going to push relatively far. We'll see if SK are able to use the fact that this wave is just outside of turret range at all, as TynX is pushing up towards this top side, and Wunder's had to burn his teleport here, Vedius. He was hoping he could do without that.
It's okay though, because again, his role in the early game is to just focus on utility and farming up. We see that Blue has stolen away the Twisted Fate ultimate. He is pathing up towards top, but this little ward here will of course spot Blue out, so Wunder knows what's going on. But I like how Jenax did set up the wave. A bit of a freeze, not sure if that has been broken yet. But the wave is in a bit of an awkward spot for him as Mikyx makes his way towards mid. He was spotted as well. The bot lane is coming into collapse.
Destiny popped here by Blue. Mikyx's going to flash away. Abscond up. Dog doesn't land. Here's the Destiny. Blue going forward. Treatz there as well as Mikyx tries to get away. Curtains open. Hook's going to land onto Treatz once again. Jankos joining the fray. Exhausted down onto Caps, and now Hecarim for the play from Mikyx. Jezu putting some damage down as Mikyx goes down to about 100 HP. Jezu, one more auto attack isn't enough because the heal comes out from Rekkles. Now Jezu forced away. He has the flash. Deadly Flourish going to land. Jankos stepping forward, but TynX stands in the way of the shotgun and blocks the shot.
Beautiful stuff coming out from G2. Good response, as it was originally SK committing to that fight. The flash in from Treatz, perhaps a little bit over-aggressive, but he wanted to try and punish Mikyx's positioning. Now Jankos wants to continue this momentum. Pushing into the enemy jungle will proc that phase rush and now will look to secure TynX's... I don't think TynX is going to get a red buff this game.
It's going to be interesting. TynX will give this one up. I was wondering perhaps if Treatz would want to come across, because Mikyx was very low HP, but Jankos with the smite will secure it and uses the blast cone to get himself away. Let's have a look at the state of the game though, Vedius. 8 minutes in as actually we jump back on into this replay.
So Mikyx's positioning did get caught out by the vision. I'm not sure if Blue expected this to come through, but I like how Caps used the stun to land onto Blue and then Rekkles with the follow-up CC. This means that Blue's now separated, decide to disengage, but then Treatz overextends. That allows Mikyx to land the hook, the flay, and then Rekkles gets a very nice shot off onto the backside. So very well executed there from the bot lane of G2 to be able to equalize the kill score. Meanwhile, Wunder still farming in the top lane. Oh, he's actually left the top lane.
Dun dun dun. So that sounded a lot more dramatic than it should have been.
Well, so what SK have done is using that small window as G2 is looking to reset. They've pathed up towards top side. They've secured themselves the early Herald, and now they're going to be looking to try and get some early plates with their bot lane. I'd love to see them actually path back towards the bot side of the map, use this tempo advantage that they have to potentially go for an early Infernal. But the thing they always have to be careful of is Caps does have TP, does have Flash, does have the ult. And actually you can see him eyeing up towards the bot side of the map, but he's deciding not to commit for now.
Blue has the hijack available, so couldn't steal away this Destiny if Caps decides to try and get out of here. But for the moment, not really too much is going to go on. And I want to just come back to that state of the game, Vedius. It's about 500 gold the difference between the two teams. You can actually see Rekkles develop quite a CS lead here on the Jhin with that kill. And with about 20 extra CS, he sits about 700 gold ahead of his lane opponent, and that's just going to get him towards that Gale Force that little bit quicker and give him that bit of mobility that Jhin really lacks in a fight.
It certainly does, and it also kind of plays towards the win conditions that G2 want. They want their Graves, and they want their Jhin very strong and very fed, because as the later game goes, this Ivern is going to look to buff them up and provide them with all the utility they need to run away with the game. But SK, they're on a bad spot right now. For the time being, they've been able to keep the gold relatively even. While the bot lane is a little bit behind, TynX is still in a good position.
It's true.
With his itemization, it looks like that he is going towards the Divine Sunderer builds that we did also see earlier on. Trinity Force is something that you do sometimes see with the Hecarims, but it is largely a matter of preference, I believe. And I think that once TynX hits that first item, once Blue hits his first item as well, then SK can start to look to be a little bit more proactive as they look for a gank on Wunder.
Knockback onto Wunder. TynX going to try and knock him back as well with charge, and Wunder caught underneath the turret, really has nowhere to go. The Trigger Seed tries to keep him alive, but Jenax will secure his first kill of the game.
Easy peasy gank coming out from SK. TynX looking to continue his proactivity. I said he needed his item. He said, nope, I don't.
Nope.
Is able to pull off the combo with Jenax, landing a really good ultimate onto Wunder. And he does lose his flash. But again, putting him behind. Ooh, that's a good
That's
hook.
a great solo play, though. Straight onto Rekkles, who has to flash away. The stun wasn't able to connect, but Mikyx almost gone down. The bullets rip through him, and Treatz will secure the kill.
Very good response from SK, and now all of a sudden they're the ones with the gold lead. They're going to use the Rift Herald bot. They will secure the first tower of the game, and what could have been a huge punish from G2 ends up getting turned around, as you rightly said, due to a good ultimate from Treatz. So really good responses here from SK. They've now been able to balloon their gold lead to about 1.5k. They're in control for the time being.
Was it TynX that got most of the gold for those plates in the bottom lane? I wasn't sure if Jenax was in range. You can actually see, yeah, TynX 1,000 gold ahead right now over Jankos. Also, a 1,200 gold lead for Jenax. So we have seen how much a Gragas can actually take over the game if they get towards this Sunfire Aegis Spirit Visage state too early compared to the opponent's itemization. It's very possible that SK can start to look for fights around these dragons, around the next Rift Herald when it comes up.
Certainly can. And I think the G2 have to be very cautious of this Hecarim right now because he is strong with that Divine Sunderer being completed. It's going to be a lot more devastating than that Graves will be. Caps did TP towards the top side of the map. I thought I heard the ultimate come through. It looks like that was just me hearing things.
I think it was. We did see the TP up there. Treatz walked over a control ward, actually, as he came up into this lane. I wonder if he saw it, because that's not the nicest place for a control ward to be. Looks like he's going to go back and clear it out now. I was just thinking, but, you know, Wunder teleporting in there, putting Daisy down, tanking the tower. Could have been a little bit tricky for SK, but they notice it, they clear it out. And now they are going to bring their bot lane down towards mid. To see if they can clear out some more control around here.
So for the time being, SK investing vision up towards the top side, potentially saying to G2 that they're thinking about that next Rift Herald. Obviously a very contentious subject because that second Rift Herald doesn't give you the same value as the first one does. Usually when you're kind of looking at these tier 1 towers, they're usually easier to take. It can, I think, have a lot more value if you maybe win a big team fight and then you can maybe take 2 towers off the back of it, or maybe you can generate a huge amount of pressure elsewhere on the map to then set up for the next Drake. But of course, it's still quite a ways until it does respawn. The Drake's going to be coming up in 2 minutes as well. So for the time being, no major objectives on the map to play for, and we're yet to actually see Caps use his ultimate anywhere proactively on the map.
And I think the big thing for SK over these next couple of minutes is you have a minute and a half. You've yet to get a mythic item on Blue or on Jezu. You really want to get those if you are intending to fight over this Cloud Dragon. Of course, they could say, well, no, we just want to scale, we want to get towards stronger team fighting, but we talked a little bit about this backstage earlier, Vedius. Miss Fortune is most powerful at like 2 or 3 items when she's equal with her opposing AD carry, when they're on the same item spike.
Well, I think Jhin might be an exception to that, because I feel like the Jhin at 2 items is probably, I think, a little bit stronger than the Miss Fortune. But I think that it depends on the situation, right? Because in a team fight, if she's able to land her ultimate, then obviously she's going to offer a lot more value than the Jhin is, right? But if they were to just hit each other, I would kind of give a small advantage to Jhin, but that is just, of course, my opinion.
It also depends where he is in his shooting cycle as well. Because if he starts with a 4th shot and then reloads for 30 seconds while the bullet time comes through.
Do you take 30 seconds to reload?
I've been playing a lot of Hades, and the reload mechanic in that game is not forgiven, okay? Sometimes I just reset the run if I miss a reload.
Okay, I'm just saying, the Jhin reload and Hades reload, probably about a similar amount of time, so your concept of 30 seconds. Anyway, Wunder going to grab himself the blue buff after Jankos going to lock that one out as well. Caps has grabbed himself the Ghost, making his way down towards the Drake. They're going to sacrifice some farm up towards the top side of the map, but Blue does have his TP, so a bit of a disadvantage for G2. Of course, they are going to lose something, but the idea is that they will be able to get priority over the river ahead of SK.
And as we said, Jezu and Blue do not yet have those first completed items. Moonstone complete for Wunder. TynX is off towards the top side of this. No vision for G2. Mikyx lands the play. Here comes the Destiny. Solar Flare used as well, but no real engage found. Cap's going to come back in and lands the gold card. The curtain's open as the curtain call is used there by Rekkles. Just going to force TynX out, who tanks a few shots. Hook alongside the stun card into the damage collateral from Jankos, able to pick up the kill.
TynX just gets killed, and he's not even in range to do anything about it. He's just getting hit from everywhere. Graves ultimate, Twisted Fate card, the Thresh hook, the Jhin Deadly Flourish and ultimate. Just SK lost the fight before it even started. They couldn't find that engage. You can see that Blue wanted to try and be ahead of the play. He used that Twisted Fate ultimate to catch Mikyx out, and it did look like he was out of position, but then the response from G2, the fact that he was able to flash away to safety means that SK were then just put in a position that they could not get out of. So
this is the future.
This is the future, yep.
Apologize.
I'm like, that's not a Twisted Fate ultimate, that's a Jhin ultimate.
Yep.
So a bit of a taster for what's happening on the next episode of G2 versus SK.
Guys. Hors d'oeuvre. I know French
On
words.
the next episode of G2 versus SK.
Blue ults in the mid lane, stealing away Rekkles' curtain call.
Will Rekkles ever die?
That's the question.
Oh, anyway, Rift Herald going to be traded in favor of SK. They do still hold on to a very slight gold lead for the time being, but the I know what Alice is saying to me right now. As long as Wunder is still farming away, they're still feeling good. No flash on Mikyx.
Yeah, Mikyx really has nowhere to go here. Tried to path down with Jankos, and Jenax was very willing just to isolate Mikyx by himself instead of looking for the double barrel. And that's an easy kill for SK. 4-2 currently on the scoreline. Still a tiny gold lead, as you say, for SK.
Definitely a big mistake there from Mikyx. He knows that all of SK is sitting in the topside river, and I think that it was good of them to punish Mikyx, because as Caedrel would say, that was definitely some illegal gameplay.
Yeah, weak side police were coming in.
Not quite, he just shouldn't have been there, you know?
Okay.
So he was just arrested, thrown into prison, and now he's going to be let out on bail.
I'm just going to say, stop before the end of that. Because that a weird path at the end. But anyway, we are going to continue on with the game. I want to talk about this Liandry's Anguish that Blue has decided to pick up. It gives you actually a huge amount of damage over time throughout some of these fights, and I'm interested to see how effective it is against G2, because something I didn't realize as much was it reduces the magic resistance for every second it ticks over, up to 15% magic damage, magic resistance reduction, but there's not a huge amount of magic resist sitting on G2.
For sure, yeah. But of course, that will start to mount over time. But I also just think that a champion like Cap's is going to face check.
He is, and he's going to get called out by TynX. Knocked back. Jankos here as well. Onslaught of Shadows comes out, but Caps is able to escape for the moment using the Ghost. Jankos still chasing away. Graves' ult is available. Collateral damage. Good pick up there, Vedi. Noticing it in the nick of time, and Mikyx perhaps has noticed that he's been called out at the bottom time, ripping through him. And Jezu cloud bursts his way to victory and takes the kill on Mikyx.
So another 2 quick picks coming in from SK, and they're able to just be much more proactive on the map. It feels like the G2 for now is just trying to farm, trying to scale, and SK using every opportunity they can. They're trying to get into the face of G2, move into the enemy jungle, look for these skirmishes, look for these fights, and utilize some of the power that this Hecarim does have, as for now the Rift Herald is just going to come down. Not a huge amount of value, as we often see from the second Rift Herald, and they did lose a lot of farm in the top lane. I think like 2, maybe even 3 waves were lost to that tower while they were going for that skirmishing in the enemy jungle. And while SK did get a couple of picks, I mean, I still think they're going to be happy off the back of it. I don't think they're going to be able to convert it into any objectives. Another red buff is going to be taken.
But as much as Jankos has stolen these red buffs,
oh, that's a good TP. They get the collapse onto Jankos.
Wunder is just around the corner as well. Mikyx coming in from the middle lane. Jenax looking for Jankos. There's the lantern with the flash! The interruption from Jenax. Jankos going to try and dodge away, but here comes TynX. Daisy comes down to try and add a little bit of a bodyguard between the fight and the rest of G2. And Wunder steps forward, lollops his way towards SK. I think that's the best description of whatever Ivern is doing with his walk.
Daisy, of course, really good knock up there as well. Cap's just going to be split pushing in the side lane, but SK, I like the idea. They knew what Jankos was trying to do, and they wanted to try and punish him for it. They did get his flash, they got Mikyx's flash, and when you look across the board, G2 very low on summoner spells with the Drake spawning in about a minute's time. We're going to look at some of these ultimates that we used. All of SK should be up in time for the Drake. Wunder has now spotted out Jenax, and you can see Jankos on his way as well.
And this is good from Wunder, because he's just positioning between Jenax and the escape route. There is a tower here, but as you say, Vedius, very well played from Jenax. lands the barrel toss, knocks Wunder back, and is able to escape.
Of course, we are still on patch 11.1, so those Gale Force nerfs have not come in quite yet. But even so, Jankos' Gale Force was still on cooldown, so he couldn't use that Chase Tool, and the Phase Rush coming in clutch. Now, a bit of poke coming down onto SK, but they have pushed in top. They have good vision up towards the top side jungle, but now they need to translate this vision down towards the bot side. They want to set up before this Drake. They already have bot wave pushed in. They're going to look to contest mid. You can see the Gragas, the Sylas all grouping up to help give SK numbers advantage. They're going to get this priority, and now I want to see them move down into the river.
Here's the fight from the future Vedius. Curtain Call coming out. TynX is down towards the bottom side. Play's going to land on Jenax. There's the hook as well. Bullet time opens up. Jankos down to about half HP, but Rekkles is like, anything you can do, I can do better, as he opens up the curtains himself. Treatz stunned. Solar Flare coming out. Treatz locked down and taken out by Jankos. And SK really unable to find the fight they were looking for.
I think SK just didn't need to do that. You know, they had the priority in mid lane. They could have just moved into the bot river, started setting up that vision, you know, gaining control over this objective, because this should have been their priority. But instead, they've given it over. They allowed G2 to find a very easy pick, like they've done repeatedly throughout this game. And they're going to hand over an Ocean Drake that honestly should have been in a much better position for SK.
And now G2 are 5 minutes from an Ocean Soul. SK have been unable to find the fight that they wanted around any of these objectives. G2 at the 26-minute mark, 27-minute mark, will be looking at an Ocean Soul, and that's just going to be so powerful when you've already got Ivern with the Moonstone Manure healing up your entire team. You've got Graves, who has grit and tankiness for days. You've got Jhin, who's pretty safe on the backline because Gale Force keeps you relatively safe as an AD carry, and of course you have the Thresh there as well. So it's just going to be very difficult for SK, who have this team fighting composition, to actually find the team fights they're looking for. As the gold card locks Jenax down in place, once again lands the knockback onto Wunder. And Jenax has done a very good job of avoiding dying in this side lane.
For now, I don't think that, you know, Caps and Wunder really had the damage to be able to get that kill. They were just looking for the cross-map play, you know? They noticed that Blue was up towards the top side. He was going to secure that tower, and someone needs to go and pick up that wave. Caps does have the TP. But I thought that they would actually try and commit to that bot tier 1 and then trade it, but it actually looks like that they were going for the kill. They weren't able to quite pull it off. And now there's just a lot of farm that's going to be lost towards that top tower. Caps is going to be forced to answer it. It looks like the Staff of Flowing Water will now be completed for Wunder, so he is online. He is good to go. He's now going to be offering a huge amount of utility to his team. We're going to keep track of what he's doing in these team fights and how much shielding and healing. Shielding? It's the combination of healing and shielding.
Yes, the shielding.
Yes. Ivern specialty.
Because we have a moment, just in case any of you at home don't understand the Moonstone Manure Staff of Flowing Water combination. In essence, Moonstone Manure, when you damage an enemy, heals one of your teammates. Staff of Flowing Water, when you heal or shield a teammate, gives both you and the teammate ability power and movement speed. So they work symbiotically. Every time you damage an enemy in a teamfight, one of your teammates gets healed. That gives you AP, that gives them AP, that gives you movement speed, that gives them movement speed. It stacks up exponentially throughout a teamfight. It's an incredible little combination.
Yes, very, very powerful. It can be done on a number of champions, but Ivern is the most popular one at the moment. You can see that Treatz tried to go for a pick there. I did like the idea, but the follow-up wasn't quite in time. Wunder was able to just brush that one off. And now he's grouping up with his team in the mid lane. It kind of looks like that they have their eyes set on the mid tier 1. Blue continuing to split push in the top lane. He has been progressively getting stronger throughout this game. Of course, level 14 has 2 major items completed.
Tower is going to go down in the mid lane though, and the gold continues to be basically even here. Brush with the Daisy coming down. There's the Destiny used by Caps, but it's really just a C where the rest of SK are. Destiny actually, the gates come down as Jenax has been locked up here by Jankos and Caps. There is a blast cone, but Caps isn't letting Jenax escape too easily. This time he flashes away. Jankos autos the honey fruit. Hook lands in the mid lane as Mikyx tries to catch out TynX. Jenax is able to escape down towards the mid lane tier 2. Here comes the curtain call as Rekkles looks for the 4th shot. TynX dives in, but the 4th shot doesn't even need to connect. Wunder gets his kill. And now G2 have a man advantage.
And you can see it's getting harder for SK to actually start the fights that they want. Every time they engage, it feels like that there's no easy target for them to just burst out. The kind of dive that they have with things like TynX on the Hecarim and Treatz on the Leona is just not as effective as it was earlier on into the game. And now G2 is looking for the re-engage. They've got the flank coming in from Caps, flash from Wunder.
Wunder flashes forward, and of course everyone can follow as the Q connects. The rest of the team dives on in, and this time Jenax is down. Blue caught down down towards the bottom side, stolen away. Daisy does an extra man, perhaps for SK as they try and turn it around. Wunder's down. There's a second as Mikyx falls. And with the help of Daisy, the traitor for SK, G2 fall in the mid lane.
Blue turns the forest against Wunder by stealing away Daisy. They actually get so much more utility that allows them to turn it around. And the amount of, remember that this is a champion that's designed to get in the middle of fights, sustain a lot of damage with the Zhonya's as well. He can just buy a lot of time. And huge props to Blue there because that might have been the turnaround that SK needed. They're now starting off the Baron. Caps is alive, Jankos is alive, and Rekkles is there as well. They're pushing in mid lane because this Baron is going down pretty slowly. Let's see what G2 can do to answer.
Here comes the Destiny. Treatz going to retreat off the Baron, only 8,000 HP on it. Jenax on his way, Teleport coming in as well as Wunder's going to join the fray. Mikyx now has Shurelius. Going to try and join his team as quickly as he can. Daisy has been popped by Wunder. Looks like they're just going to try and chase SK out of their own jungle. TynX has been forced out of his jungle a few times this game, but has still been able to keep up in terms of gold for the majority. However, he is beginning to fall behind Jankos in farm and in kills. You can see it's about a 50 farm lead now for Jankos. Blue, this is the thing with Daisy, like, she's a nuisance, but she also does a lot of damage, and she's really frustrating.
Yeah, if she just keeps hitting you in the face, it's just really obnoxious for sure. Of course, this is going to mean Ocean Sword. Yeah. So the problem with SK trying to start off that that Baron was that they completely gave control of the bot side of the map, and with the quick response from Twisted Fate, yeah, let's have a look back at this fight actually. So remember that the initial engage starts off towards the Gragas on the bot side of the map. Blue then collapses on the top side, and you're in this little skirmish, but G2 immediately go for the disengage, and when SK want to try and commit, they actually just can't get any kills. Look at all this healing that's coming down onto Wunder. Of course, the heal coming out from Rekkles as well, and then they realize, okay, Twisted Fate Graves now coming into the fray, let's look for the re-engage, and then chase down onto TynX. They're able to get that initial kill, and then after this is when things like Blue and is able to soak up a lot of damage and buy time. So G2 decide, okay, this is actually a great position for us to go for the re-engage. Caps is reset, he's going to TP back in. We can get a quick pick here, flash in from Wunder. They tunnel a little bit too hard on the Gragas, I think. This gives Blue the opportunity to force Caps out of the fight, and then just keep your eye on Blue. Yes, he takes the initial part of the damage, but then he steals away the Daisy ultimate, and that actually knocks Jankos up, preventing any form of real follow-up. So that gives them the opportunity to turn it around, as Jezu then joins the fight as well. But then they decide to go for the Baron instead of setting up for the Ocean Drake, which then gives G2 the opportunity to take that. So on top of all the extra utility that Ivern is going to bring, there's also an Ocean Soul. So there's just healing galore on the side of G2. The good news for SK is healing reduction has kind of been made easier across the board to get in Season 11. So you can already see Execution has come through, the Oblivion Orb has come through, so some of that execution, or some of that healing reduction is definitely available on the side of SK.
Treatz going to try and escape here from Caps, who locks in the stun card. Treatz dives back in with the Zenith play, and I'm not sure you wanted any piece of this action. Rekkles takes the kill, his second of the game. Still unkilled is the former Fnatic man, as continues to show that perhaps this move to G2 was a good one. There's only 2 games so far, so we'll give them the rest of the season to prove it.
Still yet to die.
Yeah.
Rekkles doing a great job of protecting that KDA. Still getting involved in a lot of the fights though. Now Daisy going to be used as a wall alongside Mikyx to keep SK away from plants.
Mikyx with the hooks, he's been absolutely on point. Had a blimey, a storm over game yesterday. Blimey isn't the word I'm going for. As the bullet time comes out, Mikyx forced away, but Jenax once again is dead, and Rekkles just forces them away with the curtain call. Baron still aggroed here, 8,000 HP on it, and SK has not really much they can do. Blue tentatively looking for a steal, but he doesn't have smite, he doesn't really have a way to get in, and now Mikyx jumping forward with the Hex Splash. I love Wunder putting the bush down for him as well. It's like, you're hidden now, they don't know. The stun card comes out once again onto Blue though. Jezu's going to try and open up onto Mikyx, and look at the healing and the shielding, it's absurd.
The Ocean Drake definitely does help with that, but I will say, I don't think this game has been the best showcase for Ivern. I don't think we've really gotten to see his true power, because I think that a lot of this game has it's been a bit of a messy game, if I'm being honest. Like, G2 have been able to get a lot of Drakes that I think were a lot easier for them to get than they should have been, you know? SK went for quite a few fights in the mid lane where they just got picked off, and then G2 could then translate that 1 or 2 kills very quickly into the Drake, and their whole focus has been Drake after Drake after Drake, and now they're in this position. They found another good fight, and remember that they've been at a kill deficit pretty much the entire game, yet after every kill, they're always converting it into an objective. Now, another hook does land. Let's see if they convert this into another pick.
Cam says forward, locks the goal card, and yeah, Treatz kind of chucks himself in amongst the wolves there. Not really much you can do. Jezu, that's half of his HP into the collateral damage. Jankos, you kill-stealing master. Once again, it's Captain that does all the work in Jankos that gets all the glory. Jenax locked in place once again, and G2 will get the double to their jungler. Just 2 Nexus towers remain, and Blue and TynX. There's not really much you can do to defend these. G2 going to continue their winning ways here as they take down the Nexus turrets. Blue locked up once again with the stun card. TynX trying to get him from the side, but the root call is going to lock him in place. A great onslaught of shadows, but it's too little, too late, I'm afraid. TynX, you're not in the regional leagues anymore. G2 going to play with their food as they force SK back onto the fountain. And although Daisy has joined the ranks, SK still cannot hold back G2. 2-0 G2 on the week with 1 game left to play.
Whew. Bit of a crazy game, actually. Very back and forth. The gold was pretty much dead even for the vast majority of the game. Yep. But as we were saying, it felt like that while SK were getting a lot of kills, they were actually struggling to convert it into that many objectives. And as we saw, they didn't get a single Drake. They did get a couple of Rift Heralds, but the Rift Heralds only really got a gold lead onto the Gragas, which, you know, relative to the Ivern, didn't really offer a lot. And while I think we saw some positive things from Blue in the mid lane, again, it never really translated into any big snowballs or any huge advantages for SK.
Yeah, it really felt like G2 were able to mitigate the advantage that Jenax and TynX had early on, right? They were able to stop them getting in, Mikyx with the hooks, Jankos with the good root callers, Wunder with good root callers. And speaking of Wunder, he's one of your Key Player of the Game nominees at LEC on Twitter is where you can vote. Wunder, Jankos, and Rekkles.
Don't vote for Wunder. Don't vote for Wunder.
Don't vote for Jankos either. Like, he KS'd every single kill. We're closing out the day with our match of the week, though, featuring the 2nd and 3rd place team from last summer. Don't you miss it. Oh, he caught it.
I feel like getting this chance right now with Rogue is one of like the best chances I have. Now it's just my time to show it.
I'm very happy, but there's also a lot of pressure with filling these shoes. But I judge myself the most harshly. I'm just really happy I have this opportunity to work with a lot of great players.
Rekkles was Fnatic's hero in the moments of end. And I feel like now that he left, when the end starts from Fnatic, there's no one to stop it.
Fnatic and G2 have always been the best teams because of the mainstay names. The fact that we lost ours and we haven't really gained a new one, it's going to be a test on whether we can create one.
They are out there, waiting to be discovered. Some of them are big, and some of them are small. But that's the thing with ideas. They don't just come to you. To find them, you have to move. Kia, movement that inspires.
welcome back to the LEC where no one expected the sneaky clover and very nice photo montage here from the LEC Twitter account. Wunder, I have a question for you. Let's settle this once and for all, please. Ivern top lane. Why is it good? When is it good? And congrats on winning with the champion, I guess.
Well, first of all, thank you. To answer your question, I must admit I can't really, because yeah, I mean, we saw that XL, they played a lot of these these buff enchanters top lane, and since we play them tomorrow, then I just wanted to try it out. And I mean, I thought what better time to try it out than on stage, right? So I kind of like experimented a bit on stage, had like a few screw ups. I must admit, my Ivern, even though despite being an old StarCraft veteran, my micromanagement of the Daisy was not optimal. But I think when the game progressed, I kind of like figured out how to play it more and more. And well, I think if we play XL tomorrow and they match us with this, my team is just way stronger and we will just beat them easily. So.
Wunder and trying champions on stage, name a better duo, really. But we have to talk about the itemization here. And I know LS is watching, so please be careful. Talk me through the build you went with here. Moonstone first. I feel like it's a must-get with Ivern. But what do you get for second and third items? Here you went for the Staff of Flowing Water. Why Ardent third?
Well, I kind of like realized that the interaction with the Moonstone, of course, healing everyone while you're in combat, right? And then getting two items that, well, give you bonuses to basically your entire team and also yourself whenever you heal someone. It's like a very strong combination, of course. So all that matters is really if you can get to that point without being too far behind, and also if you can basically like, I think this champ is not like Soraka in the way that it saves someone completely, because it kind of like heals everyone on the team and buffs everyone, where Soraka would like heal someone for 1k, right, in like 1 second, and you will be really hard to kill. But this one, well, this item build and these champions, they don't really, I guess, like focus that much on keeping one person alive, but more like buffing the entire team. And I think that's why these items shine in particular.
All right, makes sense to all the crazy players who want to try this in solo queue later. Please don't do it. Wunder is a professional here, at least I think. But I mean, do you think we'll see more of Ivern on the top lane in other regions? I mean, it was a first in EU, as you said, with XL yesterday. Is it worth a ban? And yeah, do you think we'll keep on seeing more of Ivern?
I think, well, other regions, I'm not sure. I think, of course, XL tried it out. I don't think they had like too much success with whatever they were doing. I don't know if it's because that team is maybe just like worse, or they rely maybe too much on their top laner to play something else, or maybe they had success with it in scrims, but on stage it's just a different game. But I felt that we would have for sure won easier, I would say, today if I played an actual, well, like standard top laner, whatever you want to call it, a bruiser, well, a carry champ or something in the likes of that. But it's for sure good to try out and good to experiment with, because, well, it might just end up being like good in certain matchups, or might just end up being broken in general. So that's basically why I wanted to try it out.
For sure, and we like seeing you on crazy picks after all. So thank you for trying this on stage and making it successful, Wunder. Thank you very much for the interview. We will see you tomorrow for the third game.
Thank you very much.
We're going to take a short break and we'll come back in a few minutes with the match of the week, Rogue versus Fnatic. Stay tuned.